All right, everybody, we welcome you in live here on a Friday. It's the Justin Kenner Show, Dayton's ESPN Radio, 1410 Wing AM. We wrap up the week with a lot to talk about, of course. It's been a weird, long week. I mean, college basketball season officially ended this week, technically, right? With the national championship game this past Monday, which I feel like was ages ago. Easter was this past week, and I feel like that was ages ago. But nonetheless, here we are. We're going to talk. It was interesting. We've partnered with Dayton 24/7 now, and we do a lot of cross collaboration work with them between Wing, WING, and the four other radio stations that we have under the Connoisseur umbrella. And I did my news hit this morning. I go on every Friday with Eli and Elise to talk sports, and they'd asked a question about Michigan basketball and winning a national championship and what that means for Ohio State basketball moving forward. So I will get into that coming up in a bit, because it got me thinking about the last time Michigan won a national championship, the impact that it had on Ohio State. Although it was a different sport, could we see the same type of thing play out? We'll get into that coming up around the corner. But I do want to open up talking about the Cincinnati Reds. And, I think I'm starting to learn, okay? I'm starting to learn. I don't know if it's learn my lesson. I don't really know how to go about this, but I'm starting to learn that this team is going to make you feel two extremes all season. There will be no middle ground with this team. And what I mean is, you are either going to feel really, really bad about yourself and this team, or you're going to feel really, really good about yourself in this team. I don't think there's going to be any middle ground. This team is either really, really good or they are really, really bad, and there is no in between. And we saw that all in one series. I do have to apologize. We did not have a show yesterday, but I apologize. I had in my notes that the Reds, excuse me, I had in my notes that the Reds and Marlins was a 3-game series. So I was just pumping out all sorts of fake news on Wednesday when I was talking about how the Reds were going for their second straight sweep on Wednesday night and that they've already won the series. And, well, they did not win the series technically, and they definitely did not get the sweep. In fact, they finished with the split. It was a 4-game series. My apologies. You got a lot of people messaging in saying, I don't even know what I'm talking about. You're right. I don't. More times than not, I don't. That was just a simple mistake. I made the notes wrong in my rundown, so I apologize. Yes, it was clearly a 4-game series. The Reds did not win that series. They split. But nonetheless, it's not how you start, it's how you finish, and we've kind of forgotten how good the Reds looked in games 1 and 2, and all we could think about is how bad the Reds looked in games 3 and 4. Again, they had that shutout 2-0 win against the Marlins in game 1. The Bats came alive in game 2, kind of. Remember, they were down 2-0. They had won 2-0 in game 1. They were down 2-0, and it looked like they were about to lose 2-0 before the Bats came alive in the ninth inning to force the extra innings, and the Reds would go on to win 6-3 there. They put up 6 runs. That's the most runs that they've put up all season. So you started to feel, or at least I started to feel, confident that this team was starting to kind of maybe turn the corner offensively a bit. Then they lose 7-4 in game 3, and then yesterday, anything that can go wrong yesterday went wrong. Rhett Lauder, big fan of Rhett Lauder, love Rhett Lauder, probably his worst start as a Red that I can think of. It was definitely the worst start for Rhett Lauder of this season. Rhett Lauder for the Reds yesterday in the 8-1 loss against the Marlins, he goes just over 5 innings, all right? He threw 95 pitches in just a hair over 5 innings, okay? He gave up 4 earned runs on 8 hits, 5 total runs on 8 hits. He walked a few batters. He only struck out 2. He just did not have his best stuff yesterday. The bullpen came in, to their credit. I should say Brock Burke came in, to his credit, and helped close out that 6th inning. And then Franco came in, who the Reds added late as well, or called up at the beginning of the season with Ferguson on the IL. And he gave up 3 runs on 4 hits, and he threw 43 pitches in 2 innings. That was kind of one of those games where the Reds have done a good job of using their bullpen effectively. And when Franco came in yesterday and threw 43 pitches, that was one of those games where you could tell Terry Francona had no interest in going deeper into that bullpen. He was looking at Franco saying, hey, you got to get us out of this. All right. You got to get us out of this. It's up to you. It's getting ugly. You walked 3, he walked 3 batters. He gave up 3 hits. So when you automatically put 3 guys on base, and then you let 3 more guys get on base by giving up hits, and ended up giving up 3 runs on 4 hits the rest of the way, plus the 3 walks. It just wasn't a good combination. And it was one of those where yesterday just was not the day for the Reds. And they split the series. They're still sitting at 8-5. They're second in the NL Central right now. Again, it's early. It's April. But what, like I said to start this topic, the Reds are going to make you feel the highest of highs and the lowest of lows and no in between. For instance, like you look at how they win games. Just look at the way this season has played out. Okay. They lose 3-0 on opening day. Every loss of theirs has been by 3 or more runs. When they lose, they get punched in the mouth. But when they win, they're winning by 2 runs or less. And you look at the 2 games in the opening series against the Red Sox. They won 6-5 and 3-2. There's a reason, all right, Emilio Pagan leads Major League Baseball in saves, and he probably will, because the Reds are going to put him in a position to have a lot of save opportunities, because when the Reds have a save opportunity late in the game, it's probably a low-scoring game because the Reds' pitching is on fire, and, of course, the Reds' offense has just been non-existent. But 6-5 in Game 2, 3-2 in Game 3. Then you look at the Pirates series. All right, the Reds win 2-0 in Game 1. And then when they lose, they lose. And they lost 8-3 in Games 2 and 3 against the Pirates. Now go to the Rangers series. Now they swept the Rangers, but they won by 2 or less runs in all 3 of those games. They won Game 1 5-3. They won Game 2 2-0. And they won Game 3 2-1. You look at the Marlins series, how it started. All right, the Marlins, they win 2-0 in Game 1. They were down 2-0 all game, and they tied up in the 9th inning, forced extras. They obviously ended up winning 6-3. That's their largest margin of victory all season. But outside of that, Game 2 against the Marlins, every win, 7 of their 8 wins have all come by 2 runs or less. But when they lose by 3 runs or more. They're not losing close games. In fact, if it's a close game, the Reds are going to win that game, at least based on what we've seen, 12 games in, 13 games in at this point. I don't expect that trend to continue. You're going to lose close games at times. But to the Reds' credit, when they get a lead, they hold on to it. That's how good that bullpen has been. And that's how good that bullpen has been, and that's how good that rotation has been. Because this offense, they stink. At least as of right now, this is not a good run producing lineup. They're actually not the worst hitting team in baseball. This is a new pattern that's starting to develop. The Reds are hitting the baseball. They're getting guys on base. They are leaving a lot of guys on base. They're drawing walks. They're getting base hits. They're advancing runners. They're stranding runners. That's their biggest problem right now. They are the worst. No team in baseball has scored less runs this season, 13 games in, than the Reds. But they're middle of the pack. They hit the ball. They get on base. They leave a lot of runners stranded. So when you look at the fact that this offense can't produce runs, the fact that the rotation has been so dang good, it's like, okay, the lineup's not producing runs. The rotation's not giving up runs, and the bullpen's coming in and not giving up many runs either, and they're holding on for close wins. This has been a weird 13-game stretch. It's the highs of highs, lows of lows. When they lose, they're getting blown out. When they win, they're not winning comfortably. They need all 9 innings and sometimes 10 to come away with the W. It's exciting finishes every night, and those type of exciting finishes make you feel good about this team. I think we overvalue this team a little bit because when you watch the way they win, man, they find ways to win. They win close games, but sometimes the reason they're winning close games, it's a product of how poor they are offensively. I know that sounds weird. It sounds like I'm putting a negative spin on a positive. They are 8-5. They're second in their division. And despite how poorly they've been offensively, they're winning baseball games. But the problem is when you watch them win, you feel good about it, like you should. And you're like, man, they just have that it factor. They find ways to win games. But that it factor of finding ways to win games, it's a product of how poor they are offensively. And then when they get blown out, it's also a product of how poor they are offensively because that dam's going to break at any moment. It's a lot of bend, don't break. The margin for error for the pitching staff, it's not very big. It's unfortunate. And then when it rains, it pours. And we saw that yesterday. I mean, you saw Terry Francona was in a spot where he had to leave Franco out there. Like, hey, I can't keep – like, we're not coming back in this game. We are not going to produce enough runs to come back in this game. And I can't keep going to Santiana. I can't keep going to Pagan. I can't keep going to the same arms over and over and over. It's not, you're going to have to get us out of it. And that's what happened. He didn't really get him out of it. He actually added to the damage, but Francona was adamant he was not going to go any deeper into that bullpen than what he already had. But that's kind of where I'm at with the Reds right now. Like I said, you are either going to feel the highest of highs with this team or the lowest of lows with this team. And the Reds are back at it coming up here in just a few hours. 6:45 the first pitch. We'll have a 6:15 pregame coverage beginning for you right here on 1410 ESPN Radio. And the Reds, they've 5 losses on the season. They've never lost more than 2 in a row in the infancy stages of this season. They've had a 3-game win streak and a 5-game win streak with a pair of losses in between both. We'll see if they put an end to that 3-game losing streak coming up later on tonight. Reds and Angels. And on the mound tonight for the Reds, the reason I feel good about this is the fact that Chase Burns is on the mound. And Chase Burns has been pretty freaking phenomenal all season as far as that goes. I'm going to talk more about Chase Burns coming up in a moment because Chase Burns, in fact, we'll do that when we come back. I want to get back into Chase Burns in a second. Chase Burns has been pretty freaking phenomenal this season. All right, he's 1-0 in 2 starts. He's only given up 6 hits. All right, he's gone 11 innings on the season. He struck out 16 batters in 11 innings. He's only walked 4 batters. He has struck out 16 batters in 11 innings and only given up 6 hits. I mean, the kid, he has an ERA under 1. Chase Burns, no Hunter Green. And you imagine what happens? Like, what would happen when the Reds finally get a healthy stretch of Hunter Green, Nick Lodolo, Chase Burns? That's a dominant 1, 2, 3. And let's not forget, Andrew Abbott has the capability to be elite. Rhett Lauder has the capability to be elite, but we've seen Rhett Lauder we saw him get punched yesterday. Andrew Abbott's got punched a few times. He didn't have a good spring. He's looked okay at times, but he's got rocked hard too. So it'll be interesting to see how the pitching continues to hold up for the Reds. But I want to talk more in depth about Chase Burns when we come back. It's the Justin Kenner Show right here on Dayton's ESPN Radio, 1410 Wing AM. All right, everybody, we are back. It's the Justin Kinner Show, Dayton's ESPN Radio, 1410 Wing AM, 937-518-1410, the number that you can call or text to jump in on the conversation. All right, let's see. It's a little, we got plenty to get into. Hey, so we're giving away $1,000 every day from now through the end of April. It's our spring payout cash contest. $20,000 is what we had to work with for the month of April, and we said we're going to give it $1,000 every weekday. We started this earlier in the week, and we're going to be going for, next week, the week after, and then the final week, all the way through May 1st. Friday, May 1st is the last day. So, again, plenty of opportunities for you to potentially win $1,000. So, be listening for that winning word. The winning word for this hour, all right, is EAT, E-A-T. Get out your phones. Text EAT to 937-518-1410 for your chance to win $1,000. Text the word EAT, E-A-T. There you go. And I'm going to continue to give you the word throughout the rest of this hour, and I might even give you the next hour's word a little early, too. I'm feeling a little generous here on this Friday. But text EAT, E-A-T, to 937-518-1410 for your chance to win $1,000. Okay, we welcome you back. I'm Justin Kinner. It's the Justin Kinner Show, Dayton's ESPN Radio, 1410 Wing AM. So Chase Burns is on the mound tonight. And, last year we saw some electric stuff from him. He's fascinating to me. He's good. And that may sound like such a stupid comment to make because I think we all agree that he's good. But, there's good and then there's this good. Hunter Green's really good, right? But Hunter Green took years, for one, because he just can't stay healthy. That's his number one problem. And I don't care how long it takes you to get to the mountaintop of reaching your prime, but it took years for Hunter Green to look like the pitcher we expected him to be. Hunter Green, when healthy, is the pitcher we expect him to be. When Hunter Green's healthy and he's out there, he is the Reds ace. He's a Cy Young contender. He looks the part. He is the part when he's healthy. But it took a few years for him to get to that point because there was always flashes of it, right? But it seems like it clicked really, 2 years ago. It finally clicked 2 years ago. We saw it again last year. Of course, he was hurt, and then we expected big things from him this season, and he's hurt and won't be here till July. That should, when your ace is that banged up all the time, and when you find out before the season starts that he's going to be out until at least July after the All-Star break, that should literally decimate your team. Andrew Abbott, I remember I made this comment at Reds Fest, and I kind of gave him the disclaimer. I said, I don't mean this like it's going to sound bad like Hunter Green, and it's not. It was more praising the depth of the rotation. I'm like, when Hunter Green wasn't there last year, when he was out for that first month and some change, I was like, you kind of didn't notice it. And I don't mean that towards Hunter Green. That was just a compliment to Andrew Abbott and others. But Andrew Abbott made sure to correct me and say, hey, his absence was truly felt. I'm like, I get that. But it wasn't truly felt the way you would think it would be for a market and team and franchise like Cincinnati who usually doesn't have an abundance of riches at any particular position, especially when it comes to depth. And the Reds have depth when it comes to the rotation. And I know that we saw some guys get beat up the last couple of days out there, but the bottom line is the Reds rotation has been phenomenal, even in the absence of not just Hunter Green, but Nick Lodolo. And one of the main reasons that the rotation just looks the part is because I know Rhett Lowder got beat up yesterday. Rhett's been really good. All right. Abbott has had one really, really good outing, one really, really bad outing, but we know he's a really, really good pitcher, so I'm not worried about him. Brady Singer, solid veteran pitcher that the Reds acquired in the trade for Jonathan India. I love this rotation. But the fact that the Reds have been winning games, the fact that they're 8-5, and it's not because of the lineup and it's not because of the offense, it is specifically because of this rotation. No Hunter Green, no Nick Lodolo. How in the world are they getting this done? And it's that rotation. And there's really good guys all up, or there's lots of really good guys all up and down that rotation, but none better from what I've seen. As much as I love Andrew Abbott, Rhett's been fun. I know he got beat up yesterday, but I mean, you look at Chase Burns, he looks different. He talks different. He sounds different. He walks different. He carries himself different. We've seen some of these pitchers come into baseball the last couple of years and just absolutely grab it by the throat and strangle it. We saw it from Paul Skeens with the Pirates, and I think we're getting close to seeing it with Chase Burns. And the better Chase Burns is, the more frustrating Hunter Green becomes, because it's like, I want to live in a world where we're having a debate about who truly is the Reds' ace, Chase Burns or Hunter Green. I don't think it's going to be a debate. If Chase Burns continues on this pace, and I don't expect him to continue on with the season with an ERA under 1, but if he continues on this trajectory for the rest of the season, when Hunter Green comes back, we might have a legit conversation of who is this team's ace. And that's a good problem to have. But who is this team's ace? Is it Hunter Green or is it Chase Burns? We can't say it's Chase Burns yet. But I have a feeling that come July, we're going to legitimately be having that conversation. And I have a feeling I'm going to be heavily taking the side, not of Hunter Green, but of Chase Burns. Especially, knock on wood, wherever, wherever you're at, knock on it. You're listening, you're watching right now, knock on wood, wherever you can. Chase Burns, he stays healthy, he's this team's ace. That was the vision of drafting him to begin with. That's what it was expected. Everyone out there compared him to Paul Skeens and others, and the Reds have their Paul Skeens. With Hunter Green, it was fascinating because he looked the part. He had that aura to him. He does. He has a look to him. He has big time written all over him. When he came on the show with me in Cincinnati at the beginning of the season at Reds Fest, he carries himself different. Like, he has superstar written on him, and he's a future Dodger. We all know it, right? But, the thing is, the Dodgers may not want him if he can't stay healthy. Chase Burns, it took years for obviously the injuries probably slowed down the progress of a Hunter Green, but Chase Burns, man, the ball just looks different coming out of his hand. Like, we talked about this, there are really good pitchers out there who have numbers as good as some of the elite guys. I think Andrew Abbott's numbers and production is as good as Hunter Green's, but nobody in their right mind would ever take an Andrew Abbott over a healthy Hunter Green. Never. Not even me, and I love Andrew Abbott. Chase Burns is one of those guys that it's just, he has that it factor. The ball looks different. He looks different on the mound. The leg kick, everything he does, it just looks different. The ball comes off different. The sound of the ball cracking the mitt sounds different. Everything is different. He's dominant. And we're going to see that tonight. So I found that fascinating because there was an article that came out earlier this week. What is today? Today's the 10th. So it was 2 days ago. Yeah, and I had this in my notes. So ESPN's Jeff Passan, all right, he put out his early predictions based on what he has seen. So he's talking, individual season awards, team success, team playoff appearances, all that fun stuff. Based on what he has seen 2 weeks in, ESPN's Jeff Passan decided to put out his 2026 season predictions based on the body of work of what we've seen in the infancy stages of this season 2 weeks in. And one that caught everyone's attention that I thought was really fascinating was ESPN's Jeff Passan 2026 MLB predictions 2 weeks into the season, ESPN's Jeff Passan wrote that he predicts Cincinnati Reds starting pitcher Chase Burns will win the National League Cy Young Award. All right, so this is what ESPN's Jeff Passan wrote. Making such a grand proclamation after all of 2 starts this season is a stretch, but everything about Chase Burns, who's barely 50 innings into his big league career with Cincinnati, suggests that it's not as foolish as it looks on its face, Passan wrote. Passan goes on to talk about Chase Burns' ultra premium stuff, including his fastball and slider, in addition to the evolution of Burns' changeup. Passan wrote, is the great separator. And it's the sort of pitch, talking about that changeup, a dominant changeup that he has now added to his arsenal, along with that fastball and along with that breaking ball, that slider. He said that changeup that he has mastered now, it's that sort of pitch that can confound left-handed hitters even more than his primary 2 offerings already do. Chase Burns is getting the attention of some of the best and biggest national writers out there. They're paying attention to what's happening in Cincinnati. All right, so, Jeff Passan goes on to write and say even more about Chase Burns. He goes, yes, Chase Burns is in the same league as Paul Skeens and Christopher Sanchez. He says, yes, he can be outstuffed on any given night by, Yuri Perez and others. They're all going to have their moment. This is Burns' time. He was the 2nd overall pick in the 2024 draft, and we got a chance to see him called when he was called up last year. He looked raw at times. Paul Skeens is just a different animal. Paul Skeens came in and looked like he looked like a top 5 pitcher in baseball the second he took the mound. It took, again, he's not even 50 innings. Talking about Chase Burns, he's not even 50 innings into his Major League Baseball career yet, and this is the most dominant he's looked. Remember last year, he looked a little rough around the edges, right? But he had 4 straight games of 10 or more strikeouts last year. He throws unhittable stuff. He's thrown 11 innings this season, already striking out 16 batters, and he doesn't even go up against Eugenio Suarez or Elly De La Cruz. All right, so he's striking out everybody. He's striking out everybody, and we're going to see him on the mound or hear him on the mound coming up later on tonight as the Reds get set to take on the Angels Game 1 right here on 1410 ESPN Radio. That's a 6:45 first pitch. It's kind of a weird one. It's in Cincinnati. Usually the Reds have a 6:40 first pitch or a 7:10 first pitch, but this is an Apple TV game, so that, a lot of times that changes and alters it. The Reds played yesterday at 12:10. Usually those afternoon games, you get like a 1:10 first pitch or a 12:40. That was a 12:10 first pitch yesterday, right on the dot. So, and that was an MLB, game right there as far as that goes. But the Reds looking to end their 2-game losing streak and get off to a hot start against a team in the Angels that the Reds should beat, right? I'm looking at the ESPN's matchup predictor here for tonight with Chase Burns on the mound. The Reds have, according to ESPN's matchup predictor, 73.9% chance of winning tonight's game. But we all know with this lineup, it doesn't matter how good Chase Burns pitches. That lineup doesn't show up tonight. It could be another wasted start. Who knows? Who knows? I'm Justin Kinner. It's the Justin Kinner Show, 1410 ESPN Radio. All right, that prediction, it's pretty strong. I'm not even willing to go as far as say Chase Burns wins the Cy Young, but let me say this, though. Let's be honest here. And I've said this about Elly, and by the way, Elly is playing lights out. Elly is playing lights out. I've said this before, that the Reds, when they do start, because last year, they were a playoff team last year, but I think we all knew deep down the reason. You guys remember September? We've been just itching for a Reds playoff team for years now. I don't count 2020. I don't count the COVID year. I just don't. We've been itching for it. You all know it didn't feel right? We all know, I remember talking to me and some of my best friends were all the biggest Reds fans. We all were talking about this and saying, and the Reds are in the playoffs. Why doesn't it feel like it? It wasn't just because they were going up against the Dodgers right away. That should have excited you, a chance to upset the Dodgers, right? The Reds have the pitching. I know Hunter Green got shellacked, but the Reds have the most important tool in the world to try to, neutralize the Dodgers. And some of the best starting pitching in baseball. But last year just didn't feel right. This year, if the Reds make the playoffs, I think it's going to feel more legitimate. And it's because of guys like Chase Burns. It's because of guys like Elly De La Cruz and others. And we'll touch on that when we come back. More Reds talk, but let me know what you guys think. 937-518-1410. Is ESPN Jeff Passan, it's his prediction his prediction for 2026, this season, is that Chase Burns, who's on the mound tonight for your Reds, he predicts that he's going to win the 2026 National League Cy Young. We're 2 weeks into the season. He looks like the best pitcher in baseball. He's not. Or is he? Is that a crazy prediction for Jeff Passan? We'll discuss more when we come back. Plus, I want to talk about, okay, who are some of the other Reds that could potentially, 2 weeks in, us talking about potentially being in the running for some major regular season awards. Can this team get back into the playoffs for the second straight season? We'll get to all of that when we come back. Got some NFL stuff around the corner. Want to talk about the Browns. The Browns, I know at times me defending the Browns is going to fall on deaf ears, but I really need y'all to turn those ears up a little bit. I need you to listen. There's a story going around right now trying to paint the Browns as the Browns, and I just don't understand it. This is a collective effort by national media to gang up on the Browns, and I'm getting a little tired of it. We're going to get to that coming up around the corner. Oh, yeah, a chance to win $1,000. As I told you, the winning word for this hour is EAT, E-A-T. Make sure you text EAT, 937-518-1410. Even when you text me your opinion about Chase Burns, just put -EAT at the end, and that'll count towards your entry. So EAT, E-A-T, text EAT to 937-518-1410 for your chance to win $1,000. We'll be right back. All right, everybody, we welcome you back. It's the Justin Kinner Show, Dayton's ESPN Radio, 1410 Wing AM. We still have a little time left here this hour. Make sure you're texting the winning word. Excuse me again. What is my problem? You know, when I go to break, I don't do that at all. I don't cough. I don't do nothing. But the second it's like we start doing this, I go live, I have to cough. It's gross. No one likes hearing that in their ear. My apologies. But either way, we welcome you back. I'm Justin Kinner. Text EAT, EAT to 937-518-1410. We're giving away $1,000 for our fall or for our spring payout. $1,000 every day from now to the end of April. I'll be listening for the winning word each and every hour, starting at 8 a.m. Monday through Friday, and we go all the way up through 5 p.m. So with just a little bit of time remaining here in the 4 p.m. hour, make sure you are texting the word EAT, EAT, to 937-518-1410 for your chance to win $1,000. All right, so a lot of Reds to open up today, and just trying to approach the Reds a little different. As I said when I opened up the show, the Reds are going to make you feel two extremes, and there will be no point of the season where you're going to feel, I feel okay about this team, or I absolutely, I just don't know about this team. You're either going to be all in or you're going to be all out, and it's going to be a tug of war. Okay. There will never be a point throughout this summer and into the fall where you feel like wishy-washy on this team. You're either going to hate them or you're going to love them. And as I said, we kind of went through it. We're 13 games in, and there's 13 different examples of this, or 12 of 13 examples of this, because like when the Reds win, they're close, hard-fought wins. They have not had one. They've only had one win. One of their 8 wins has been by more than 2 runs, and it was a 3-run win when they won 6-3 in extras. But they had to win in extras, and that was just all the bases that were, included in that big hit towards the end. So the bottom line is, like, the Reds, every time they win, they have won by 2 or less runs, which means you're never sitting comfortably watching the Reds. You're never comfortable watching the Reds. You're on the edge of your seat, which is a fun experience, yes, especially when they come out on top, when they come out and win. And that's kind of where we're at as far as that goes. The Reds have been winning games. They're 8-5. Now, they've lost the last 2 against the Marlins, but it's the highs of highs and the lows of lows. So when they win these games that make you feel like, oh, man, this team has that grit. They have that willpower. They have that fight. They have that moxie. They have that aura. They have it all. But when they lose, man. All right, so they win every game by 2 runs or less, and they lose every game by 3 runs or more. There's no in between. They're not losing close games. They're winning close games. And if they're not winning close games, the game's done, right? Like they're getting their doors blown off. Like we saw yesterday afternoon in that 8-1 loss against the Marlins in Game 4, where the Reds ended up splitting with the Marlins. So the Reds have a series that gets underway tonight with the Angels. And Chase Burns is going to be on the mound. We were talking about Chase Burns before the break. ESPN's Jeff Passan, they always do this. They kind of let a few series kind of play out. 2 weeks into the season is when ESPN Jeff Passan decides to put out his 2026 season predictions based on the body of work that we've seen 2 weeks in. And this is a hot take. This isn't just a prediction. It's a bold prediction. His bold prediction is that Chase Burns for the Cincinnati Reds, who has an ERA under 1, who has struck out 16 batters in 11 innings, who has basically been unhittable at this point. His bold prediction is that Chase Burns will win the National League Cy Young this season. This is a team that he's not even the ace on this staff. yet. This is a team that, if you remember when the season started, there was rumblings out there of, the Reds might actually bring Chase Burns out of the bullpen to start this season, which I think was a little bit overblown. The concern or the problem with Chase Burns and only being in year 2, keep in mind he hasn't even pitched 50 innings yet. There is a potential innings count on him. And, there was an innings count on him last year. And I remember when he came out, there was like a stretch of like 4 straight games where he had 10 or more strikeouts. And the Reds, he had an injury. And I think it was a legit injury that sent him to the IL. But I don't think, he missed like almost a month or whatever heading into that final stretch of games to close out the regular season. We didn't see him. I think that they purposely did that on purpose because they felt like, hey, in case we go on a run in the playoffs, we need to use those innings for him in the playoffs versus because you imagine the Reds continuing to throw him out there and then the playoffs start. And then all of a sudden it's like, hey, Chase Burns, you've had a great rookie season, but you're not going to make the playoff roster. We have an innings count on you. We're done. I mean, I know we've seen that before with Strasburg and some others. Like, we've seen that from big time pitchers in the past, but that would have been a weird scenario. We saw the Nationals have to do that over a decade and some change ago, right? Like we've seen teams have to do that. That would have been bad, but he's still going to be on an innings count. So I'm curious to see how all this plays out, but man, he's been unhittable. He's been phenomenal. And I look forward to watching him pitch more than any other Red. Actually, I look forward to Hunter Green more than any other Red because it's such a rare sight seeing his ass on the mound. Yeah, I'm a big Chase Burns fan, and you should be as well. Chase Burns is the Reds' ticket. The Reds have turned into a franchise that have done a very good job at eyeing and spotting and developing pitching. That's why I feel good about the Reds. Like the Reds, I mean, every arm they bring up more times than not pans out as of late. I mean, this is basically almost a fully home developed rotation. You take, if you go and you take who they traded Jonathan India for, if you take Brady Singer out, picture everyone healthy from Hunter Green to Nick Lodolo to Chase Burns to Andrew Abbott to Rhett Lauder. Those are all homegrown guys. Like there's not a lot of teams in baseball that can say that. Brady Singer is here. Yes. And there's nothing wrong with that. But the fact that these are all Reds guys, these are all guys that have come through the Reds system. Like the Reds are in a position where how Chase Burns' development continues is going to dictate the future of Hunter Green in Cincinnati, in my opinion. If the Reds are well in the playoff hunt come July, the Reds are not trading Hunter Green this season. But I guarantee you, there was rumblings of the Reds trading Hunter Green this past offseason. I think if Hunter Green comes back and he is not this team's best pitcher, let's say that Chase Burns, and again, this is probably as I sit here on a Friday in early April, probably one of my more biggest overreaction segments ever. But Jeff Passan and others are seeing it. If Chase Burns continues on this trend and is the Reds' best pitcher come July, even with Hunter Green coming back, Hunter Green can come back, be lights out. I still think the Reds look to trade Hunter Green in the offseason because the Reds have such good prospects pitching-wise in this system, right? And Chase Burns is only in year 2. The Reds aren't going to be desperate to give a huge major contract to Hunter Green, and he may not get one if he can't stay healthy, right? But like I could see the Reds saying, it's not ideal to move on from Hunter Green, but we got Chase Burns. That's our ace. Nick Lodolo will not nearly cost you as much as Hunter Green. You pay Nick Lodolo, you have Chase Burns on a rookie deal, you have Andrew Abbott, you have really good arms up and down this. Go get that prospect haul for Hunter Green in the offseason. That's what's on the line here. I honestly think that the better that Chase Burns is, the more likely we see Hunter Green moved in the offseason. I truly believe that because – it's a luxury to have this much pitching if you're the Cincinnati Reds, but just like in Cincinnati for the Bengals, what good is having a luxury of Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, and T. Higgins if you don't have a defense? What good is it of having one of the best rotations of full-grown, homegrown rotation in baseball if you don't have a lineup to support it? That's where the Reds have to have confidence in their ability to continue eyeing, buying, and developing pitching talent through the system and using a prospect of Hunter Green to go address this team's hitting woes. whether it be through top prospects or guys that could play right now. But I think that the better that Chase Burns is, the better the Reds are going to be, and not just because of his production on the field. It's because of what decision the Reds can make with Hunter Green when that's all said and done. Now, we're getting way ahead of ourselves on that. I don't think Chase Burns is winning Cy Young. I don't think that the Reds are thinking of trading Hunter Green as we sit here in April. And if they, and like I said, just to preface, so you guys don't clip this and make it sound like I'm saying that the Reds are going to trade Hunter Green this season. No, I'm saying that when this season is over, if Chase Burns is in that Cy Young conversation and the Reds make the playoffs for the second straight year and they have all this success in the absence of Hunter Green, you got to ask yourself, what value does Hunter Green have to you? I think he has more value to the Reds off the Reds than he does to the Reds. If the Reds can continue pitching at such a dominant pace without him, and the Reds remain in the playoff conversation without him, I know this sounds stupid, but him coming back technically is a big help, yes. But I think he helps the team even more with his value because of what they can get back to add more depth to this team, whether it is more pitching or whether it's more Sal Stewarts, because the Reds have had so many success stories with the Hunter Greens and the Nick Lodollos and the Andrew Abbotts and the Rhett Louders and, yes, the Chase Burns of the world and even Williamson and others. I need to see, for the Reds to truly go to that next level, you have to start seeing more success stories. You have to start seeing more Sal Stewarts. All right, because, for instance, Elly De La Cruz, I think we've all labeled him as a generational talent with deficiencies, but he's a generational talent, which means I almost don't count Elly. You take Elly out of the equation, and the best prospect before, and your best call-up offensively since outside of Elly De La Cruz, other than Sal Stewart, has been Matt McLain. Technically Spencer Steer. Spencer Steer has been the best call-up for the Reds over the last 2 years, lineup-wise. If you take Elly out, because he's a generational talent, right? But, like, the Reds are in a position where they can move on from Hunter Green down the road if they wanted to, and I don't think it truly impacts this team as much as what you would think. You take Elly out, you take Sal Stewart out, this team is screwed because they just don't have depth for position players and hitters. Which is weird because the Reds do have depth at position players and hitters when they're coming up through the system. You know, we're fortunate to have the Reds' top prospect in Duno here with the Dragons. He hits the hell out of the ball. Well, he gets called up by the Reds in the next 2 years. Will his bat disappear? Like Matt McLain's bat disappears? Like all these guys' bats have disappeared since being called up? Like, there needs to be more Sal Stewarts for the Reds to truly capitalize on the fantastic. Like, I don't think the Reds get it. Like, I don't think you guys give the Reds enough credit for what they've done with their system in turning it around with the pitching. I mean, they can spot it. They draft it, they develop it, and it produces. The Reds in about 2018, 2017, 2018, I talked about this with Phil Castellini at Reds Fest. The Reds slammed on the brakes and made a bunch of changes in the back end of the organization that fans don't really pay attention to. And it was their scouting department. They invested a ton of more money because this is the one thing that Phil told me was that a lot of times, like, let's say you get Joey Votto's money off the books and you see that 25 mil and you're like, oh man, they took that 25 mil. What do they do with it? What players did they go get with that 25 mil? That's an organizational 25 mil. And the money that had been freed up over the years, they had used a lot of that money to shore up stuff on the back end of the franchise, which one of the biggest changes they made and the more aggressive changes they made was their approach to their scouting department. There's a reason when you hear, and again, they haven't landed some of these big names, but they've been in the mix. Like, you know, when you look at the Shohei Ohtanis in the world and others, like, I get it. The Reds don't have a Shohei Ohtani, but the Reds were one of the teams he was interested in. And, you know, a lot of these guys, like the Reds have scouts in some of the best baseball, communities out there outside of the U.S., of course. And the Reds have totally invested into that. They're invested into scouting here in the States. They're invested across the board. And we're seeing that. You could tell the talent that has come through the Reds organization over the last half decade has been significantly better than the talent that came through previously. When the Reds got through that class that had like Jay Bruce, right? And Todd Frazier and Joey Votto, Brandon Phillips. When you look at all those guys, And I know that, when you look at the guys that you came up that we got to see play in Dayton and came through the system and the Reds developed, outside of that, that cabinet got bare for 5 or 6 years. They lost themselves. They fully invested back into it in 17. And there's a reason that we've seen some of the best prospects that the Reds have had in decades come through. When you think of the Hunter Greens and the Nick Lodolos and some other top prospects too. Jonathan India, I know didn't blossom after his rookie year, but he was a top prospect coming out of college, and the Reds got him from Florida, and he won Rookie of the Year right away. Like the Reds have been aggressive, and the Reds have been doing a lot better job. But again, it's all about results on the field. It's all about results in the win category. But I'm fascinated to see the ongoing development of Chase Burns, because I think Chase Burns is the most important weapon that this Reds team has, because I think it alters the direction of the franchise. He's there. He can put them in position to where, because for instance, if he doesn't pan out and he's just an average pitcher moving forward, you need Hunter Green, injuries and all. But you don't have anything remaining that, you're going to get a haul for Elly De La Cruz when that time comes. Which is why, to me, if I'm the Reds, you got to say it sucks that we have to move on from Elly in 2 years. We don't want to move on from Hunter Green, but can you imagine the draft haul that the Reds would get when they move on over the next 2 years from Elly De La Cruz and Hunter Green? I know that sounds stupid. They'll be looking forward to that. But if the Reds have a ton of depth already in the system and on the roster heading into those moves, I don't think the Reds are going to be as bad off as what a lot of you guys think. If the Reds have a staff that is still being dominated by a Nick Lodolo, a Rhett Lauder, an Andrew Abbott, and a Cy Young, maybe a Cy Young winner by the time we get there in Chase Burns, I think this team is going to be in a position. Remember, like the Indians were when Terry Francona was there. They were moving on from Trevor Bauer. They were moving on from some of the best arms in baseball, and they never missed a beat because they had organizational depth when it came to a lot of those positions, and the Reds are positioning themselves for that. Nonetheless, I'm sorry that's a weird topic to talk about in the second week in April. My apologies. But the Reds right now, I promise you that segment was more positive than you want to give it credit for. The pitching is just stupid good. The pitching has been stupid good. The lineup has been stupid. Like they're not producing. Like I said earlier, the Reds are weird because they have a new problem offensively right now where everyone's like, oh man, they're the worst hitting team in baseball. They're not the worst hitting team in baseball. In fact, I know this sounds silly. They're not even close to the worst hitting team in baseball. They are the worst scoring team in baseball, which tomato, I get it. But as a team right now, again, I'm not boasting about hitting 208 as a team, but as far as like total hits on the season, all right, the Reds are right there. Okay, they have 91 hits on the season. All right, the Pirates are sitting at 11th. They have the 11th most hits in baseball. They have 9 more hits than the Reds do. So the margin is super thin. The Reds are actually hitting the baseball. All right, the Reds are hitting the baseball as far as that's concerned. Like they're right there. But what they're not right there in is scoring runs. Now, the Reds, again, they come in at what I say, I think like 19th. They have the 19th most hits in baseball, but the gap between them and the team that's sitting in the top 10 is the Pirates, is 9 runs. They're right there. Like they're getting hits. In fact, the Reds are top 10 in home runs on the season as well. They've hit 12 home runs as a team. All right. The Astros come in at number 3 on that list. They've hit 16. They've hit 4 more home runs than the Reds. So the point is the Reds aren't as far off hitting wise as you think. The Reds' biggest problem, okay? The Reds' biggest problem is how many runners they've left on base. They've left more runners on base than any team in baseball. And the reason that tells 2 stories. That offensively, from a hitting standpoint, they're getting hits and they're getting guys on base. That's why that number is important to me. They're getting on base. They're getting hits. They're not the worst hitting team in baseball. But when you are the worst scoring team in baseball, no other team has scored less runs than the Reds. They're dead last in runs scored. And they've left more runners on base than any other team in baseball. Those 2 things right there tell me that scoring issue can be fixed. And I heard the Cowboy talk about it during the broadcast yesterday. Those are things that are unfortunate, but you can't fix them There's nothing you could do to technically go fix them. And you don't want to add pressure to the lineup because you don't want them to be pressing at the plate and second guessing things and just being a step like he said it best. The Reds have to continue to do what they're doing at the plate because they're getting hits. They're getting on base. It would be much more alarming to me if the Reds were dead last in total hits on the season, dead last in runs scored on the season, and we're near the bottom of runners stranded on base, because that means you're not getting any hits, you're not getting anyone on base, and you're not scoring runs. And how the hell are you supposed to score runs when you don't even have anyone on base and you're not getting hits? The Reds are getting hits. They're getting people on base. They have to find ways to get those runners in. And once they figure that out, even slightly remotely better than what they have been, I think this team's going to be more than fine. I still think this team is fine. I'm not even freaking out. I hate the way they lost those last 2 games against the Marlins, but this lineup has to get better. This lineup has to get better as far as driving in those runs. But they're getting hits. They're getting on base. Man, that's such a Reds take right there. It could be worse being a sports fan in Ohio. Gotta love it. Gotta love it. I'm Justin Kenner. It's the Justin Kenner Show, 1410 ESPN Radio. Right here, we got Reds baseball. Later on tonight, Reds and Angels game 1 with Chase Burns on the mound. Jeff Passan says that's his Cy Young winner right there. We'll see. We'll see. We'll see. I don't know. We'll be right back.